And welcome to the first in a series of education for nurses, legal education, anywhere where the issues of the law and nursing overlap. I'm your host, Joe Flores, nurse practitioner and attorney. And a little bit about me. I'm practicing here in Corpus Christi, Texas, and in Houston, Texas. I have been a nurse for over 20 years, and as a nurse practitioner the last 10. So let's go ahead and get started. And our topic today is the nurse as a criminal defendant. Now, many individuals worry about this that are nurses. All of us fellow nurses worry about criminal liability, particularly in the nursing setting, and some people do develop chemical dependency. It is a problem in our profession, and also if you're arrested for driving while under the influence of alcohol or other substances. So we're going to be talking about that in the unlikely event, and I hope you're never going to have to go through this, but in the unlikely event that you are arrested or are facing prosecution for an offense, we're going to talk about your rights. The goals of the seminar are going to be talking about the justice system. We're going to be talking about the key players in the justice system, kind of introduce you to the constitutional rights that you do have, the due process. We're also going to talk about legal strategies when you go to administrative hearings, because undoubtedly, a lot of times, when you do have criminal liability, it bleeds into affecting your license. Now, many of the employers, if your employer finds out about it, are obligated to report you to your state board. And also, the people that arrest you or prosecute you, the DA's office, are also going to report you, even if you've just been arrested. Now, if it's a conviction, obviously they're going to go ahead and report it to the board, and sometimes there's self-reporting involved. So we're going to be talking about that. And as you are listening to this seminar, there's going to be slides, PowerPoint slides that are going to be appearing as we speak to kind of help reinforce the learning that we're having about our goals here. And also, at the end of this seminar, I hope you've gotten some good insight into the criminal justice system and how to protect your rights. And above all, I'm going to be repeating it and saying it again and again. Get a lawyer, one who is familiar with criminal law and one who is familiar with administrative law. With that being said, before we jump in feet first in the topic, I'd like to say this seminar does not constitute legal advice. If you have a particular question, contact the attorney of your choice or the state bar, and by all means, contact somebody who is familiar with criminal law and administrative law. So again, this does not constitute legal advice. For any specific questions, contact the lawyer of your choice. First of all, we're going to be looking at the criminal justice system, and our PowerPoint slides are appearing as we're speaking here. What is the criminal justice system? Well, simply put, it's the practice, the organizations used by national and local government that are directed at maintaining social order. And those who step out of line, or allegedly step out of line, the local and state and federal officials act on that and try to bring them back in sort of through rehabilitation, through punishment. And, it's interesting to note that our prisons, we have one of the most populous prison systems in the United States, and some of them are ex-nurses in there. Some of the main things that we're going to be talking about are diversion of drugs, which are trying to convert them to recreational use. We're going to be talking about assault. We're going to be talking about fraud. Nurses are in a position of trust in our society, and I'm going to be using specific examples to be talking to you all about that. But we've defined criminal justice and the criminal justice system, and above all, it's to protect the individual's rights in our society and to enforce the laws. With that being said, we've set up a framework, but I want to stop right there and let you all know that being accused can be one of the most devastating events that can happen. We're going to be talking about the individual being accused on trial potentially, or pleading out to a lesser included charge, and I'll get into all that technicalities because I know you all have a lot of questions in your mind, and you can always email me at joe@floreslawfirm.com. That's Joe, Joe, at floreslawfirm.com, or go to my website, www.floreslawfirm.com, or go up on YouTube, and if you have particular questions, you can see this seminar at any time, and you just go youtube.com and type in nurse as a criminal defendant or my name, and it'll come up, and this will be put on various nursing sites. That way people can benefit the most from it. But as I am saying, if you have particular questions, you can email me or call me, 361-887-8670. With that being said, we're looking at it being one of the most devastating events that can happen. Humiliating. They take away your freedom. They take away your rights. When you're arrested, a lot of the time you don't have the right to leave. And we're going to talk about what constitutes being detained, what constitutes having to make bail. We're going to talk about those issues because it's important. One of the things that we're looking at is that when you're arrested, many people say, don't say anything and ask for an attorney. Later during the seminar, we're going to say that's not so easy to do. Easier said than done. This thing is not Law and Order where everything happens in 1 hour on a TV show. I wish it did, but the process takes a long time. Even after you've been arrested, then you go through the process, which we're going to be talking about being arraigned, told your charges, you enter a plea of guilty, not guilty, and then you set it for trial. Unless there's overwhelming evidence, I always tell everybody, plead not guilty at your arraignment and get an attorney. If you can't afford one, we're going to talk about how you can get one appointed to you. And the other issue that we need to also underline is get an attorney in the first place. I'm going to be saying that again and again. If you walk away from this seminar with one idea, it's I need a qualified attorney to represent me, because so many things can happen during the process where you're arrested or you're being prosecuted that can affect your rights. And so having an attorney there by your side who's qualified really makes the difference in your rights, the outcome, and affecting your nursing license. So with that being said, criminal charges can have a very great weight and effect on your nursing license, and it affects your nursing license decision. Often the board doesn't have as much discretion as we think they do on whether they can suspend your license or even revoke it. Oftentimes in many jurisdictions, and I want to also underline this, I am licensed in Texas, and this does not constitute legal advice, but check your state board, know your Nurse Practice Act very well, and contact an attorney who handles not only criminal but administrative law, because you're going to need an attorney to help you with the peer review process that's going to help you navigate through disclosure with the nursing board, because ultimately if you have a conviction, you're going to have to come out with that. Some people don't report or self-report, and they get in a lot of trouble later, and we'll address that also in this seminar. And now by statute, say for instance, we have somebody who did drug diversion, who maybe had set up a scheme with a doctor or with other healthcare professionals to divert drugs, maybe to sell them. This has happened before, but in many cases we have a nurse who is using Demerol or morphine or trying to use drugs that the patient's supposed to be having. We've had cases come through our office where the nurse did admit it, said, yes, I was giving, half the dose of Demerol and shooting them up with the rest, saline, and then I'd pocket the rest of the Demerol. That's diversion. That's drug diversion. Not to be confused with the pretrial diversion, which in some jurisdictions gives a first-time offender, it diverts them from having to go through a conviction. But we'll get to that in a moment. What we have is, under certain conditions, to keep practicing, even if you are convicted of a crime, you can present your case to the board and say it's in the best interest. Now remember, I'll underline this too. Not only do you need a qualified attorney, but you also have to remember that the state boards are not there for you. Therefore, they're there created and promulgated by the legislature to protect the public.